Welcome, Chiefs Kingdom. Thanks for tuning in to this Red Kingdom Media production, bringing you raw, authentic Chiefs coverage. Make sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date on your team. Now sit back and enjoy the show.
Chiefs! Welcome to this week's edition of the Home of the Chiefs podcast, where the Chiefs are home. I'm your host, Clinton, here with Shannon, as always. Unfortunately, we don't come here with good news and good, nice, fun things to discuss.
No.
But we're here nonetheless because, the kingdom is kind of up and down about their opinions. So I'm interested to get yours as well about the team as a whole. But we need to digest this Sunday night game that we all saw.
Yep, the very ugly game.
And then see how we think this is going to go for the rest of the season now that we're officially in December, which is actual football mode as they claim to be.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and bring up today's topics. So Packers performance, we're going to talk about how the offense, again, continued to struggle despite Andy in the press conferences this week claiming that he was actually happy with them compared to in recent weeks. So we'll discuss whether or not that might be an ongoing thing as it has been, or if it will eventually work itself out, which is the internal issues. Whether or not the offense can make the adjustments and commit 100% to winning, whatever it takes to do that. And whether the defense has the capability to overcome the injuries that they faced on Sunday night, knowing that probably most of those players are also going to miss this coming Sunday game as well. So playoff panic, that brings into question that the Chiefs have now fallen out of the number one seed. They no longer control their own destiny, and the Chiefs are relying on other teams to lose. However, some parts of the kingdom are very confident because of the quarterback, whereas some others are either super panicky, like they're not going to win any more games at all the rest of the season. And, maybe I'm more towards the middle of that. And I say they can fix it and work themselves out if they're willing to be brutally honest. And I think at times they struggle with that.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
We'll see about that. And then Bills smell blood. Obviously, the Bills are a 6-6 team, hoping to get a few more statement wins to punch themselves into the playoffs, despite their struggling season so far. And prior to Sunday, the Chiefs were not one of these struggling teams, but at 8-4 and no longer controlling your own destiny. Some would say 8-4 is great for the Chiefs, and some would say 8-4 is struggling. So we'll have to see how that goes the rest of the season, whether it's a law of averages, how many more losses will appear on the schedule, or if they've already hit their number of losses and it just came against some unlikely teams that we never considered as top opponents. So that being said, before we go into our actual conversation, I'm going to ask you all to hit like and subscribe. Follow us on all social media platforms at Red Kingdom Media. Subscribe to us on YouTube, rate 5 stars, and follow us on Spotify, wherever you like to listen to your podcasts. We are there. You might be watching us on all other kinds of platforms, and that's fine. Wherever you like to follow us, just leave some comments and let us know you're enjoying what we're giving you. So, that said, the Packers' performance. What are your just overall broad feelings about that game, start to finish?
First of all, it was frustrating as heck. I was so mad. I was getting so mad at every single play because it's just nothing was working. And I feel like the run game was fun and Pacheco was good and everything, but like pretty much everything else didn't work.
Right.
And it was so frustrating because that's what we've seen all season and that's what we just talked about. And I'm just like, come on, like, aren't you going to do something different this time? Are you gonna not like poop the bed? But no, I guess not. So yeah, that was a thing. It happened and it was very embarrassing. A Sunday night game that a lot of people were watching and it was prime time and they just couldn't hold it together. And they made the other quarterback, Jordan Love, look like a god.
Look like Mahomes.
Yeah. And all the injuries, like that's another thing. It all seemed to like happen all at once, which it kind of does that, but it's like, oh man, this kind of happened at the worst time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the defensive injuries, it's like Drew Tranquil got hurt in the first drive, and then I think it was Brian Cook gets hurt in the second drive. Like it just kept piling up, and they never really could overcome.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, this was arguably their worst defensive game of the season just because of what the other team accomplished.
Yeah.
And the circumstances they had with their injuries. But nevertheless, in the stat sheet, it'll say 27 points, one of the worst, if not the highest point total the Chiefs have gone against so far. So, all that being said, they have an even harder matchup in terms of like a boomer bust like Jordan Love is. And the defense is slightly weaker because of those injuries, not looking like they're going to return from injury in time for this game. There's some optimism that maybe Nick Bolton might come back. It's up for debate whether they finally decide to pull the trigger. If they think he's so valuable, then they're probably going to like take as much time as they think they need before they bring him back, which of course will feel like a detriment to the Chiefs.
Yeah. They're missing a lot of their good guys.
I'm with you that like the offense has struggled, and I made this comment on the post game on Sunday that we're done saying the offense is fixed or can they get themselves fixed. Like, no, they're not done tripping over their own shoes. That I can't expect going into a game that they are equipped to overcome these mistakes.
No, not at this point. They've shown too many.
You were dead on. They were doing Pacheco right. But the fourth quarter, that man did not get the ball.
He didn't.
And then he gets thrown out of the game with a bonehead penalty.
Dumb.
By throwing why are you throwing a punch to a man who's wearing a helmet?
Yeah.
Isaiah, don't hurt your hand.
No.
It's ridiculous.
Heat of the moment. He was mad.
And, to me, it felt like we had lost well before that last drive when most of the kingdom was confident that Mahomes will still find a way to get in the end zone. They'll still find a way to get the 2-point conversion, and then they'll still find a way to get and win in overtime. And flags and the not called flags and the flags that helped Chiefs that shouldn't have been called and all that is one of the like main talking points out of that game at this point. And to me, it felt like they were in much worse shape before that. And if that's how long it took for the Chiefs to be in desperation mode, they need to stop that, because we saw if they're in desperation mode, but they don't make stupid mistakes or act out of their head, they can move the ball well. And there were plenty of times this game where it looked like they could have scored and then a sack in the red zone or something else. Just the offense, the ball is in Pat's hands to throw it to somebody else, and he just can't make it happen.
Right.
And it'll always be, is it the receivers? Is it Patrick? Is it receivers? Is it Patrick?
Mm-hmm.
Some of us have the opinion that it's wide receivers. Some people are leaning on that, like, Patrick just isn't trusting what he's seeing. So it's a give and take argument here. There's lots of blame to be cast, but at this point, it should all be internally. Like, you should only be blaming yourselves for what they're going through. If you're the wide receiver, it's your fault. If it's Pat, saying it's his fault. If it's the O-line not blocking for 10 seconds, then it's their fault. Like, just take accountability and, like, accept that you're struggling and, I guess, embrace it versus struggling to struggle.
Yeah.
Like, keep expecting it to just come easy because it has been easy in the past.
True.
And now everything is a struggle, and you're not used to having to struggle, and you're not used to having to struggle the entire game to stay in it.
Yep.
You've still got that, like, feeling in the back of your head that you can overcome any of all these challenges, no matter how much time's on the clock. And you don't worry until clock is nearly gone and your chances are very slim.
Yeah.
But now, like, they go down 14-0. We've seen them come back from it, but it coincides with the defense playing well. And we were due for a time when the defense can't, like, overcome their circumstances, and they put out what looks like a bad performance.
Yeah.
So it was rough. Slight disappointment in the defense because it's like the professionals. It doesn't matter if you're the backup. You got to be able to handle it. Lonnie's was saying, oh, it's your third string linebacker. You can't expect that much of him. Maybe that's the case, but you can't be the reason that your defensive coordinator is limited to what he's able to do. And that's what happened. That's what happened.
True.
Is they were forced to stay calling certain plays or seeing certain formations.
Yep.
And then the Packers were taking advantage of that by making sure that that particular formation of the defense with those specific personnel on the field would have to stay out there.
Yep.
So they were, like, keep accentuating the negative to keep, like, spotlighting it.
Yeah.
So you have a weakness here, and it looks like that was, like, the only thing holding your entire unit together, which is kind of scary.
That is. It's very scary.
So, Nick Bolton, I hope you get back healthy. Drew, I hope you get your head right and come back and help us out.
Yes.
And everybody else step up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was rough. I know I was more on the negative side because, man, they just don't have the same spark.
I know.
As
It doesn't
recent
seem
years.
like the same
And
team.
it's come, like, it's gotten to the point finally for me to, like, accept it instead of comparing it to the years before. Like, every year is a new year.
Yeah.
So this team isn't the exact team that just won the Super Bowl within this same calendar year.
That's very true.
So
We always forget that.
like,
too.
expectations have to be completely dropped and refreshed every season. But when we have Patrick and Andy, we had that impression that, like, they can make chicken salad out of you-know-what. And they have. But now they can't overcome some of the ingredients are not as fresh.
Yeah.
Some of the recipe steps are kind of out of order or don't quite make sense anymore. So we got to make some adjustments if this team wants to overcome their obstacles on offense
That's true.
and make a postseason run.
Yeah. It's very true. I agree.
So that was all kind of tiptoeing around it, but it was all within the framework of Sunday night. But now, if we're just talking about their issues as a whole, now that the game has transpired, and they have a game coming up this Sunday against a team that has not always had the Chiefs number, but seems to get their number during the regular season, and then the Chiefs would say, ha, get you in the postseason type deal.
Yeah.
But we know that Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes is usually always a very close dogfight.
Yes.
So, Josh Allen hasn't been hyped up the best. He had his offensive coordinator fired this season. They don't look as well, but because they have a defensive-minded head coach, they also don't mind just running the ball forever until it stops working. The Packers are exactly like that.
Yeah.
They were like that last week, and they threw the ball in opportune times and capitalized on it. So it's like only passing when it's required. And the Bills, having their coach, are willing to make that type of adjustment. Where I said this on Sunday night, Andy chose to run Pacheco for 3 quarters, but he didn't do it in the 4th, and that's the one that matters the most. So I love it if he commits to running the ball. You got to commit to it all 4 quarters. You have to.
Yeah.
He had 100 yards, but he wasn't on the last drive of the game when he was needed the most. So, and the wide receivers still making mistakes.
Yes, that's not good at all.
Still having like fumbles or almost fumbles. Miscommunication with Sky Moore, so Patrick throws an interception.
Yep.
And there's like arguments online back and forth between that cornerback says that he knew what Patrick was doing, and Patrick saying he's full of, you know what, this is the first time I've done this or something. So you don't know who to believe. But like, there's no hiding the issues with the receivers, and we have to say receivers because the offensive line is giving Pat plenty of time to get the ball out if somebody was open.
Yeah,
if somebody was open and Patrick trusts him and like get it to him. But we'll see him dance around, and he's got this itch like he should throw it, but then he doesn't, or I should escape and just run it myself, and then he doesn't.
Yep.
So he's got to be committed to his plan. Like, if you don't trust your receivers in this way to get it done in clutch moments for you, then do it yourself. We saw that happen last season against the Titans. It felt like the only way the Chiefs were moving the ball was him running the ball. And if that's what it takes to get a big first down, to clutch a game out, or to get a first down in order to score a touchdown to not lose, then that's what we got to take. That's what it's got to take. The wide receiver snaps are a little better in terms of like who we saw playing, but it was still very Sky Moore heavy. And sorry, he just doesn't have the production in my mind to warrant that attention. There's only one wide receiver who we all think is who should get targeted.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, every play, it should be run. And then when they really want to stop your run, you can throw it to Travis. And then when they really want to stop your run and throw it to Travis, then you throw it to Rashee Rice and let him go. Like that is the offense. And thankfully, that looked like the game script last week.
It did.
So despite the issues and the lackluster performance that it was, the blueprint, like we said last week, is still there. So they're still building on it.
There's a little hope.
Because they're doing the right formulas, they just got to remember to stick to the formula at the end versus correct back to an old familiar.
Yeah.
I guess.
Overcorrect.
And Isaiah, you got to keep a level head, my guy.
True.
You are not missing another game. Do not get kicked out of any more games this season. You are the Chiefs' offensive MVP. You got to have that mentality, and you got to believe the Chiefs need you at all costs to win a game. So
Yeah.
you stay on the field, you keep your composure, you run like a bat out of hell anyway. You keep that fire for when you hold the football, and you lose that fire when the ball gets taken out of your hands.
Mm-hmm.
When you're called down with a whistle, because we all know you ain't gonna fumble.
Yep.
You almost broke your leg to avoid fumbling and or breaking your leg. Like, you are a man possessed, and the kingdom loves it. We love your attitude. We love your enthusiasm.
Yeah.
But you're important, bud. We need you. You got to stay in the game. You care, and we all love that. We feel that passion come out of you, Pacheco. And we all love that and feel that. But we love it when you're on the field running like that.
Mm-hmm.
So remember that. Keep that attitude when the ball is in your hands.
Yep.
There. I'm done on my soapbox for Pacheco.
I couldn't have said it better.
And NVS, I am tired of you not catching the ball.
Yeah.
Or hoping for a flag, or a ball is up in the air and your neck is just moving all around. How this deep shot ain't worked in a season, in a long second season,
Yeah.
what's felt like, and it's arguably gotten worse. It's arguably less dependable, and there's less trust than there was a year before.
Yes. Yep. And that's what's the frustrating part.
And because he's tied to them money-wise, he still has to be justified in playing stuff. So,
Dang.
like, he's frankly not done anything. Like,
No.
I don't have the Green Bay stats offhand, but the week before that, he had one catch for -1 yard. Yippee! I could have stood on the field
I know.
and done better and had more production. At least I could have not done anything versus being a detriment.
True.
So clearly that is not going to work out. And MVS has not stepped up. I mean, frankly, I'm calling out that Thanksgiving footage in practice, not even trying to catch a ball in practice. And then we wonder why he doesn't do well in games when practice is supposed to be when you focus and try hardest the most.
Yeah.
So the game is just all instinct. It's bad.
It is.
It's so bad. It's horrible. And this was him coming back to where he played before. He was a team captain.
Yeah, how?
He did nothing.
How?
He attempted to draw a flag. And was it at pass interference? Yeah. But the refs weren't going to give it to him because it's MVS. The refs didn't think he was going to catch it anyway. Tell me if I'm wrong. It's awful.
It is. It's really sad.
There's only certain guys I trust in big moments to just stand on the field and catch the ball if the play calls for it. There's other guys who, cool, they're going to get their own fancy schmancy play where it's all them. They get the ball. There's no other movement besides take it and go. But they're not who they want to build around.
No.
There's only one guy the Chiefs have now shown throughout the season.
Yeah.
At first, the beginning part of the season was, I wonder if they see in him what we do. And that, yeah, they see it.
Yeah.
They see that he is
Definitely.
it. And now that they've seen that type of formula for a receiver type, that like big but can win a jump ball but still fast and has size to him versus just plain quickness, like we've seen pretty much Tyreek on.
Yeah.
For everybody else they've chosen to bring in, I really hope that this adjusts how they decide to play. There's a tight end out there. He used to play for the Philadelphia Eagles back, and he came out in the league about the same time as Travis did. Zach Ertz. A lot of Kingdom would like him to come in just so we'd be forcing the Chiefs to use 2 or 3 tight ends all the time, and that way have only one wide receiver on the field. And we all know if there was only one wide receiver on the field, who we, and maybe at this point, the Chiefs also would choose to be the one and only receiver. And that's number 4. So I personally don't think they would do the move because they just hadn't made any other move when there was ideally more moves to make. But I'd love the idea just to force exploit the tight ends.
True.
Because it hides Travis Kelce. If he's not the only tight end on the field, then other guys have to question, is this a run play? And am I going to have to be blocked? Or is this a passing play and I have to go defend this guy or defend his zone or whatever the case? So it adds that mystery into it.
Yeah, to like, oh, what's going to happen?
And because we have trust in our tight ends. I don't know how many mistakes Noah Gray has made this season, but I like what he's done.
Yeah.
I don't remember him making bad mistakes, and it seems like when the ball goes to him, he catches it. Yeah. And when he's open, he gets wide open. So I'd like to see more of that if they're going to try to be pass. But if you're going to be passing, try to be in the personnel that says, we want to run down your throat.
Right.
Because if we're in that personnel and defenses continue to play how they normally do against the Chiefs, where they have 2 deep safeties and say, you're not going to throw it to the end zone over our heads, we'll say, fine. We're going to hand it to Pacheco a whole bunch. And the second you have only 1 safety guarding the deep, that's when we'll do some tight end goes to the middle of the field and wide running back slips out and all the fancy stuff that gets Andy Reid excited.
Yeah.
But it all has to be predicated on run it down their throats.
Yeah.
Do it over and over again.
Yep.
I'm shouting out Dale because I legitimately asked him because he has some connection with offensive line play. And I asked him from a human perspective, if you were an offensive lineman, is there a weakness to saying I am calling the same running play over and over again for 75 yards all the way down the field until we score a touchdown? Is there any weakness to that? And he said, no, there isn't a human element to it where you get psyched out or anything like that.
Right.
There isn't some magical switch where you get halfway through and you start not having the same energy and production or whatever the case. So what that tells me is if it's not basically the players indicating that they wouldn't want to keep doing running plays, then it's all on Andy Reid.
True.
So
yeah,
I think the Chiefs can make a good postseason run if Pacheco running the ball is their primary focus and finding Travis and Rashid when moments call for it. And a worst case scenario, Pat take off and run in that order.
Worst case.
In desperation mode.
Yep.
Any other things you want to talk about with the offense and the state that they are in?
No, I think I agree with you that I think, they can do better. And they have the components too. They just need to put them together. They just need to put the pieces of the puzzle together now. And they need not to waste any more time because it's getting down to the wire.
Or my impression, if you're going to make it a puzzle, they've had the puzzle pieces in place, but a piece has slipped loose from its spot, and now they've seemed to have misplaced it in random parts of the game.
Yep.
When it's if you had just watched over the puzzle, it would still be there.
Yep. That one piece you can't find.
So that brings us to the broad topic overall of playoff panic. The Chiefs are no longer the number 1 seed and no longer control their destiny. They saw the Jaguars lose on Monday night, and Trevor Lawrence looks like he's going to be down for some time, at least 1 game or more. So it really looks like it's Miami and Baltimore as the main people to worry about. And if you look at the schedules of all four of us teams, including Jaguars, we have an easier schedule. But we also said that last week prior to losing.
True.
And if there was going to be one game, I thought the Chiefs were going to lose the rest of this end schedule stretch. It was going to be this Sunday against the Bills. So they've already lost one. If they lose two, then that gives them 5 losses. And that means at most they could finish 12-5. And that definitely ain't getting you number one, to me. I think at most Baltimore and Miami can drop one.
Yeah. I can see that.
There's still a chance. You're telling me there's a chance. Yes, there's a chance. But like from my perspective, it doesn't seem as cut and dry as it would happen.
Right.
And I made this statement after that game, and it's true. If that team that we saw that Sunday, injuries and all, that team's getting beat in the wild card round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
But that's not this team overall. That this team can fix themselves and be a better version of themselves. We've just seen mistake-riddled, like exploiting the weakness of them over and over again.
Yep.
So the Chiefs are really good. They have several losses this season where they basically beat themselves. 1 or 2 plays could have had it back. Yep. And then there's also games this season where 1 or 2 plays change and they lose.
Right.
So the argument is the Chiefs, a few games different. They have no losses or 1 loss. And if things change, we have like the same record as the Bills. We're in desperation mode, 6-6, barely 500, just like they are.
Oof.
So I don't see with my eyes a drastic difference between that group, which the beginning of the season, it was the Chiefs are on this pedestal.
Yeah.
And now they're mortal.
They've been knocked down.
Like they are weak. They can be weakened. They can be beaten.
Yeah.
And it's coming along, but the Chiefs need to recognize that. Like this is at least 3 games this season now where a team basically felt like their Super Bowl was beating you. That's how every game is against a team that has won a Super Bowl. Yep. Every other team wants to compare themselves to your level. And if they think if they beat you, they're just one rung underneath you. So you're giving all these teams hope.
Yeah.
Which is giving me doubt. And I don't want to doubt this team because I've seen them do great stuff. I want to see them put their heads on straight and commit to a plan for success.
Yes.
And forget stats, forget tendencies, forget all of that. Do you want to win the Super Bowl this year or not? If you don't, keep experimenting. That's fine. Commit to your thing, Andy. Maybe it'll work. In the past, it has. Yeah. In the past, it's worked.
True.
But they've had better help.
Yeah.
They've had better receivers. They have a great offensive line. But now we learned. 2020 was they had Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and couldn't get them the ball in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Now what? This year would be Pat's running 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage for 20 seconds and still nobody can manage to get open in that time frame. Like the overcorrection there is going to be, he always needs good receivers versus see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're creating this constant struggle. Like at first we think Patrick is so good he can overcome all obstacles. Then we find out in Super Bowl 55 he needs an offensive line. Okay. And then in Super Bowl 57 we say, okay, we don't need Tyreek Hill. We just need dependable wide receiver. And now this season, besides Rasheed and frankly, he can't be called that because his production hasn't been 100%.
Yeah.
They don't have that stability.
Mm-mm.
So the argument isn't that, oh, Patrick needs dominant receivers, or he needs stability. He needs a reliable receiver.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's true.
as much as I love Rasheed at this point, he's not 100% reliable. And we're okay with that. We accept that rookie Rasheed is always going to have some type of issues that he goes through, and it's just expected. So we embrace it as part of being an NFL player and overcoming obstacles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, that makes it an issue. If every game we imagine winning a clutch game and do or die moments when we need it, it's Patrick throwing the ball. It's either to Travis Kelce, or it was to Tyreek Hill, or just finding somebody.
Yeah.
But we're seeing Travis start to slow down. He's probably still facing some injury from the first week and just not mentioning anything about it.
Yeah,
but
true.
Like, we can't ignore that, like, he's slowed down a little bit. Defenses beat him up just a little bit.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs haven't made adjustments to make Travis's life easier.
True.
Like, it's always felt like the pressure's on him because he's Patrick's number one target. Tyreek Hill went on line basically saying he never thought he was going to be it because Travis and Pat were like that. He always felt third wheel.
Oh.
So
darn.
We can't see this type of regression out of Travis and not have somebody else step up. Like, we get a worse version of Travis this year from last year.
Yep.
And we don't have a stable wide receiver as we had with Juju, and MVS is worse and less dependable than he was last year.
Yeah.
So that's the state of this team.
Yeah.
And you could argue the Chiefs were very close last year to losing in the Super Bowl the AFC Championship game. So they show themselves to be vulnerable constantly.
Yeah.
This whole season, they've looked nothing but vulnerable. And they're frankly acting vulnerable as well.
Yes.
They don't have the impression like they are going to overcome odds.
Exactly.
They're like talking the talk, but they don't really believe it. Like, they're trying to keep psyching themselves up, thinking they'll eventually believe what they're saying. But it just hasn't come. So that's why my mindset has shifted completely to just be a running team. Like,
true.
That is the one thing that had looked like it worked in week 1 and has never not looked like it's worked.
Yeah.
So
that is
if I'm an NFL coach and this is my roster, that's what I'm doing. That's what I think gives me the best chance of winning, especially when you assume the defense plays as well as they do. They will have times where they get injured. They will have times where they don't play their best. Unfortunately, the Chiefs this season have shown that to be a struggle to overcome.
Yeah.
The Raiders game, second half, where they got over 30 points, they could prove they can do it. And we've had several times this season where they either played a nobody team or a team that they gave a little bit more of a damn about to try harder to get extra. I'm done seeing that. I want to see that 100% of the time. Every team can beat you, even if they're the Packers, even if they're the Patriots, even if they're the Joe Burrow-less Bengals.
Yeah.
You've got to stay vigilant. Every team is gunning for your head, and they notice your weakness.
They do.
As much as you study your weakness, everybody else studies your weakness just as much as you do.
Yep.
So you've got to adjust to that. You've got to break tendencies. They were doing that for 3 quarters, and they went back to some tendencies in the 4th, and it didn't work. I hope this is ultimately the wake-up call that says stick to the script.
Yeah.
If I walk in that game on Sunday and a piece of paper says run the ball, I don't care what time on the clock, that's your game, that's your script. You follow it.
Yep.
So that might give Andy some struggle because he always has different ideas about when to run and when to pass and when things are or are not working. But that is my one ask for the rest of the season. Continue the scripts that we saw. Andy, work on your red zone play. That's all you got to worry about the rest of the season. If it's Pacheco handoff or screens from the 25-yard line all the way down to the other 25 for 50 yards, then it's your job, Andy, to get the other 25 in the end zone. Like, make that what you worry about. Instead of the entire game plan, worry about just the red zone.
True.
Because we have some reliable plays and players who can do what you need them to do. But it's when you want to keep being creative. Creativity is good, but you also need to have an old boring that works.
Yeah. Exactly.
All that leads to our final topic, which is the Sunday afternoon matchup where the Chiefs host the Buffalo Bills at 3:25 Arrowhead time. So I teased it. The Bills are 6-6. They've been on a bye week, so they've had 2 weeks to watch nothing but Chiefs film to be ready for this. And the Chiefs are coming off a, in their mind, heartbreaking loss, but frankly did not play really well.
Yeah.
And went through a lot of defensive struggles. So, all that being said, it leads to this impression like they are either going to completely turn it around, like we mentioned last week or a few weeks before that, or they're ready to be upset again. I don't think it's that, because as bad as this sounds, I feel like the Chiefs respect Buffalo more than Green Bay.
Probably.
So
They probably do.
Because they've known that they have and can be beaten by that team before.
Yeah.
This is the first time that Jordan Love has faced us since, and they can feel cocky about that now.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a challenge. I see a lot of places are picking Buffalo to flat out win, and others saying the Chiefs are favored by less than a field goal. So they think it's that close of a margin for a game. So what are your feelings going into this game?
I think it's going to be very close, and unfortunately, I think Buffalo is going to win.
Dang.
Yeah.
So another game where we go there like Monday night and we just kind of assume it's going to be a loss, and then it looks like they can still do it, and then they'll still heartbreakingly lose.
I don't know. I just want to assume that they're going to lose because I've seen what happened the last games, but I do want to be hopeful that they can pull out the win too.
Same. I've told Dale, I'm done picking big wins, or in some cases wins in general.
Yeah.
For the Chiefs, because I want it. I want that to be wrong. I want them to win, obviously. But I can't expect Mahomes magic every week anymore.
Yeah.
That's a little sad. It's a little Santa Claus-y. I've seen it, and we can be real. But it just doesn't seem like there's going to be magic this year. And how much of it falls on his shoulders versus people letting him down that he's not willing to throw under the bus.
I think
so
it's more of that. Yeah.
But the end of the season is, in one way or the other, even if it is holding a Lombardi trophy up, they're still going to be saying, we actually have bigger problem here than we assumed we do.
Mm-hmm.
And with Brett Beach the way he is, we'll see an overcorrection on that side.
Yeah.
So it's a toss-up for me, because if the Chiefs come out fired up, they could and should absolutely win.
Mm-hmm.
And if they let themselves get beat up, they can get beat up.
Yep.
So the Bills are hungry. Bills are saying to themselves they can't afford to lose any more games this season and make the playoffs. And the Chiefs are saying we can't afford to lose any more games to get to host the entire playoffs, or at least one or two games of it. So Buffalo is way more desperate than the Chiefs. But they're both in the same mindset of win or go home.
Mm-hmm.
So history can tell me that Patrick and gang can overcome this and come out on top. Is my heart telling me that that's likely? I don't know. I'm trying to convince myself of it.
I know. It's like
every week I either see them get a little better and think that's going to last, or I've seen them look like they've hit their rock bottom and say, well, they can't go anywhere else but up.
Yeah.
But that's not always true. Sometimes you stay exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
And that's arguably the story of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Week 1 hasn't looked much different.
True.
From week 13, now week 14 coming up. And we've said this team could be a contender if they fix their mistakes.
Yep.
And if you're ifing, you're wishing.
Yep.
Which means you're not certain. And there is concern.
Mm-hmm.
You are scared a little bit to acknowledge that fact about you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna stay optimistic. I won't go in there assuming victory, but I'm gonna go with the mindset that the Chiefs are not going to keep letting themselves down in this fashion, and that these professionals care about winning the game more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to show me that.
Yep.
Commit to it. It doesn't matter if something is against how you normally do it. If it's what's working and it's going to get you the victory, then that's what you should do.
True.
So that's what I'm hoping to see. You could toss up whether they're going to win or lose, or frankly, whether or not it matters. I mean, some of the kingdoms basically saying, oh, who cares? Let them go through the road. It's the one thing Patrick has never had to do in the playoffs yet, is play road playoff games besides the Super Bowl. So cool. Just add something to his resume. So you got some people who are not concerned with what they've seen, but are totally accepting that they've fallen.
Interesting.
Which I'm like, how could both of those things be, how can one of those things be true and the other thing be untrue at the same time, right? How can you not be living expectations but think you're totally fine if they go on the road and play road games? The Chiefs lost 2 games on the road and 2 games at home.
Yeah.
So does it make a difference? You feel like it makes a difference. Arrowhead makes a difference. Arrowhead on defense as hell makes a difference.
It does.
So if you want that, if you want Arrowhead in the playoffs, besides just for one game, winning the division, you've got to win this game and you've got to stay strong the rest of the season. If this game and now the rest of the season, if they don't lose another game, they still could and arguably might finish number 1. Because there's a belief that Miami's going to lose one and Baltimore's plays a 49ers team that looks really good. think Miami also plays a 49ers team, if I'm not mistaken. So they have harder schedules than the Chiefs. But the Chiefs have also lost to two teams that are either just at 500 or a little above.
Right.
So the Broncos are catching up, and the Packers now have like evened themselves out and are looking for playoffs.
Yep.
So they've lost to teams that have felt hungrier than them. And we've had this belief that they are as hungry as they can be. But now it's starting to look a little questionable now.
Yeah.
But all that being said, if the defense balls out the way that they had prior to Green Bay, they get some key guys back and bear down, as they like to say, and it's a Pacheco show through and through, and keep that intensity with the ball in your hand, not throwing hands, this team can win playoff games.
Yeah.
If this team commits to something that their identity is not anymore, they are asking for heartbreak.
Oh, yeah.
And as Chiefs fans, we're used to heartbreak. But before Mahomes, we've always had a little sprinkle of magic and then maybe some disappointment under Mahomes.
Yeah.
Versus just periods of disappointment. So we can all be thankful that we have that luxury of being spoiled in a way.
Yeah.
But now we want to continue to be spoiled, or they're committed to their way versus we just want to win. We just want, we just want to have a parade again.
Yeah.
Like, we love Patrick and we love throwing the ball. We love Andy Reid and all that. But if it's the defense and running the ball that's going to get us a freaking Super Bowl, then do it, man.
Oh, yeah.
Who's turning that down?
Right.
So, anything you want to say before we close?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head with that one, that it's just, and it needs to all come together. It needs to be cohesive. Like, it's like we said last time and last week we talked, and it's basically the same conversation. So if they really latch on to that this time and be like, hey, this is the last game that we're going to let that happen, then I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, I feel you. Question is whether or not they can execute.
Yep.
And continue to execute prolonged will be the thing to consider the rest of this month and as the Chiefs close out their schedule.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
It will. And the rest of the season, of course, we will be there with you to break down and give you all the Chiefs news that you could ask for. So like and subscribe, follow us on all our social media platforms at Red Kingdom Media, subscribe on YouTube and rate 5 stars, and follow us on Spotify so you can listen to your podcast on the go. If you like to watch us on Facebook or X or anywhere else, give us a comment and let us know where you watch and listen so we can get a hold of you and just talk Chiefs, because that's all we'd like to do, man. We just like being the Chiefs community, and if there is one going on, we want to be a part of it. If somebody wants to be part of ours, we just love growing that too. So stay tuned, because later this week there should be an episode of the Chiefin Podcast with Daily Dale and Lonnie. Then there'll be an extra point video later during the weekend. Then the gang will be here right after the post game to break down whatever the results of the Bills-Chiefs game ends up being. But no matter what the result, we will be here to break it all down with you. I don't have anything else to say. So hope you guys enjoy your rest of the week, morning, noon, afternoon, night, whenever you're listening to us. Have a great rest of your day. And as always, go Chiefs!
Thanks for checking out this update straight from the heart of Chiefs Kingdom. We appreciate your passion. So please leave a like and follow us wherever you tune in from. See you next tailgate, your trusted source for all things Chiefs, Red Kingdom